environment was cleaned up.
The first time I was hearing about this stuff, it was totally new to me.
Elens-Edeh with Social Impact Consulting. Hello everyone, my name is Elens-Edeh with Social Impact Consulting. I'm a development consultant with 20 years of experience working with NGOs, international NGOs, and bilateral agencies to work in project support, monitoring and evaluation, and civil society strengthening. So now, I saw that local NGOs lack the capacity to manage large-scale projects, which can in turn impact their various communities because they have the connection based on their backgrounds. So this made me create this channel so that I can add value to you for free once you subscribe to this channel and get notified of upcoming videos. I look forward to hearing from you. All right, let me unmute. Hello, everyone. How you doing today? This is Efwa with Social Impact Consulting. So this is what we've been waiting for, DevSectorSeries. Now, guys, make sure you follow DevSectorSeries, follow the hashtag so that you're aware of when more interviews are happening, more things are coming up. There's one quick announcement that I wanted to make and just pay a tribute to Mr. Innocent Chukwuma, the former head of Ford Foundation West Africa, passed away a few days ago. And we are all very shocked and saddened about his loss. We're going to be trying to see how we can pay respect to the work and his life and what he has done and the impact he has made in the development sector here in Nigeria and in Africa. So I will keep you all posted moving forward. Now back to the program. We are going to be interviewing Mr. Bunmi Akinyemiju, who is the CEO of Venture Garden Group. You know, when I was doing the bio of this amazing person, I was like, oh my God, he has done so much for Nigeria and Africa as a whole. And I actually was invited to facilitate a session at, the Garden Social Ventures, one of their subsidiary companies. They were having an event, an M&E boot camp. And, I heard him speak about his passion for technology, social impact, data, and how that informs the work of everybody in all sectors of the economy, the government and the private sector, and the development sector. So I was very fascinated by his keynote speech. And I said, I gotta have him here. I was like, he has to come and share with us today. So what I did was, I put a post last time and then had you all, my colleagues, pretty much ask questions. So I reached out to you guys, reached out to my colleagues on WhatsApp and other platforms to get a sense of what we can get, how technology can add value to our sector. I know there are multiple tools out there, we're doing different things, but what can we do in terms of really harvest data, to really inform the work of non-profit organizations, of INGOs, of bi and multilateral agencies, so that we can inform the work, we can really, really have more value for money in terms of program output and outcomes. So I am extremely excited about this. Yeah, like and share this interview. I believe it will add value, in terms of the work that we're doing here in the development sector. So I'm just gonna share you his bio, and then he'll be coming up in a few minutes. Serial entrepreneur, technology innovator, and investor. He is the CEO of Venture Garden Group, VGG, a high-growth technology investment holding company which has incubated and invested in a group of fintech companies that provide innovative technology platforms that address payment and data inefficiencies across multiple sectors of the African economy. One of the subsidiary companies under the VGG portfolio is Garden Social Ventures, an indigenous social enterprise that leverages technology to drive impact assurance in the social sector. One of her recent solutions is the trial product, a monitoring and evaluation solution that analyzes and aggregates data to effectively inform the work of organizations that are changing the world. As part of the leadership at the Venture Garden Group, Bunmi and his team have dedicated their work and resources to transforming Africa through technology and have successfully led several impactful change projects through strategic, public and private sector partnerships. He is also a founding partner at Greenhouse Capital, GHC, the venture arm of the Venture Garden Group, which has invested 20 innovative fintech companies across Africa. Some of the most ambitious startups in West Africa make up the GHC portfolio. Typically, GHC is the first check for highly ambitious tech entrepreneurs. Bunmi has a passion for nation building and is currently volunteering at the Nigerian Economic Summit Group to help contribute to the transformation of Africa using digital. In 2017, Bunmi was nominated as one of the top 100 most influential people of African descent in business and entrepreneurship by the United Nations. VGG was also recognized by the British Parliament for its contributions to transparency and good governance in Africa. In 2018, Bunmi received the Trailblazer Award at the Nigerian American Multicultural Council, and VGG was recognized for its support to the federal government of Nigeria in digitizing social intervention delivery. Let me present to some and introduce to others Mr. Bunmi Akinyemiju. Bunmi Akinyemiju is a
Okay. Hello. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Bunmi, for joining us. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Efwa. I appreciate it.
Great. So I'm very excited about this conversation about technology and data and social impact, because I feel like technology, as the techies say, it's more of an enabler to the work that we do in various sectors. So thank you again. You've done amazing work in Nigeria and Sub-Saharan Africa, and that's what is much needed right now. So I guess I'm gonna get to it, because I think everybody has been looking forward to this conversation. So like we said, you've been addressing various sectors of the economy. You've worked with various startups addressing various sectors. I think I was listening to one of your interviews at the Marketplace Africa. You were like, you started off with education, addressing aviation. So now, wanted to just get a sense from you, why the social sector?
Yeah, thank you, Efwa. And by the way, you're doing an awesome job. Your energy is so contagious, and I feel like just standing up and, out of excitement, but thanks for having me. And I really, have been looking forward to this, because right from making the decision to move back to Africa, right? And many of us, it's the same story. You're out there in the US, in the UK, in Australia, wherever, but there's really nowhere like home, right? And ultimately, no matter where you go, you travel to Chicago, to New York, to California, to Dubai, you walk in and the everybody's looking at the beauty or how things are organized, and you are just asking yourself in your head, why is my home country not like this? Why is it that people are lined up here and we're not lined up at home? Why is it so? I think that was really the inspiration of making the decision. I was running three businesses, three startups in Michigan that I was part of starting, had 100 employees. Things were going pretty well, but
Amazing.
saying, guys, I'm out, I'm going back to Africa. We want to create a technology company. And, this technology company, we wanted to focus on developmental sectors so that it's not just let's make money, because obviously that's important, but it's also how do we make impact, how do we create jobs, and how do we enable Africa and Africans to be able to accomplish essentially that potential. And that's what brought me to back to to Nigeria. So 10 years into it now, I've grown some gray hair, but at the, by the end of the day, I'm actually happy. I'm happy that, I made that decision. I'm happy about my co-founders and partners that joined me in this journey, happy with the team that I've been able to build over the years. And we were very deliberate. We're like, hey, first, let's go into education. How can technology help to transform education? Right? Both in terms of more access, quality, right? And the ability to just be able to deliver, the right type of, education to all Africans at an affordable cost. And what role can technology play? Then we moved to, aviation, logistics, right? I mean, if you think about, the men that built America, how America was built, it really came down to, building the roads infrastructure, the bridges, the motor vehicle, power and energy. So just thinking about that path for Africa, we're like, okay, let's go into logistics. Let's look at, air connectivity and how to improve it. Then we went into utilities and power, because if we don't have power, we can't produce anything. And then let's go into banking, because ultimately, if we don't create the payment rails that connects diaspora and international markets to home, then money will not be able to move. If money doesn't move, trade will not happen. If trade doesn't happen, we're not creating jobs and we cannot develop. And then social sector. Why social sector? I mean,
Yes.
after all of this work in aviation, in education, in power, in digital banking and payments, there was just one recurring theme, which is when you look at the addressable market of any product that you bring to Africa, after doing it for a while, you kind of realize that, oh, there's this country with 200 million people, there's this continent with 1.2 billion people. But at the end of the day, what is that GDP per capita? What is the earning power for the individuals? And can they actually buy this iPad iPod Air thing? Can they buy a $200 device because you just want to have some earpiece? And then you realize that your addressable market is not 200 million, maybe it's actually 100,000. Then all of a sudden, it's a big realization, and you find that there's this missing people who are not participating in economic activities because they have to be lifted up. And how do you reach them when you can't connect with them, when you don't know who they are, when you don't understand what the gaps are? And meanwhile, there's also a whole bunch of capital. There's a lot of charity money that is global, right? The wealth around the world that's looking for impact. I want to make a
Yes.
difference. I want to, but they don't know how, right? I mean, they don't know how. That's literally why Bill Gates, the world's richest man, had to create his own foundation and say him and his wife are going to run it themselves, because they just weren't sure that there are enough intermediaries and the ecosystem was rich enough. So they had to actually create an organization themselves. So I think that was the gap we saw, that we're like, okay, technology can help to create this bridge between countries that want to achieve interventions, wealthy people that want to achieve intervention, and the common man or woman or child that is not connected, does not have a phone, is not counted in any sensors, does not, you don't know their address, you don't know how many meals a day they have, and you don't know what intervention they need for the environment that they are. I think that is the gap. And then for me, it was just like technology can be an answer, and that's why we're here.
Okay. Thank you so much for that. In terms of, you really talked about it on a macro level, so it gives us an idea of why technology is needed to address, to find out the needs of people in society. So I'm gonna go to into the next question. So, like, you've talked about the need for technology now. Like, okay, we need technology to address the needs of the society, to now lift people up out of poverty, especially through charity from private and various agencies. So now we've talked about the why now. So, like, how can that happen? How might smart technologies be leveraged for social impact evaluation? That is, I've been in the social sector for many, many years, and coming back to Nigeria, it's still the same challenge. It's like, okay, impact, how do we measure it? And various large organizations still struggle with longitudinal studies and even outcome monitoring, indicator management. So how might these smart technologies be leveraged for social impact evaluation in Africa?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you very much, Efwa, for that question. And I think the way I'll answer that is to just say, hey, look at every other industry. Look at banking. Look at logistics. Look at e-commerce. Look at, even biosciences in terms of DNA testing and genomics. Look at like the speed at which the world created the COVID vaccination.
I
All of
know.
that stuff did not happen by virtue of manual efforts and traditional thinking, right? The ability for all of us to be like in one room for almost 1 year, not going anywhere, and you get
Mhm.
things delivered to you. You have access to pay electronically. You're able to, Amazon blew up as a company, like
Exactly.
logistics companies became more prevalent. So I think if you think about the role that technology played in that evolution, based on mobile technologies, based on data analytics, machine learning, based on, fintech technologies and cloud, technologies. So all the building blocks, Internet of Things. So all of those building blocks is now there today, right? And those are the technologies that have helped in all of those sectors I mentioned. So why not the social sector? Why not? Why
Yeah.
not social impact evaluation, right? So I almost feel like it's just that, people probably think about this sector last traditionally. Meanwhile, the addressable market and the pain point is massive, and what I keep telling people is that what we're seeing with fintech every day, fintech, I see that happening in the social tech space. It's just that people have to kind of like key in that there is the opportunity to use those same IoT and mobile and machine learning for M&E, for identity, for reporting and analytics, for all of these different things. Like think about crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is now big. Think
Yeah.
about crypto. Everybody talks about Bitcoin and crypto exchanges. There are now billion-dollar crypto exchanges. But what's a crypto exchange doing? It's connecting people who want to, buy crypto or trade crypto to people who want to sell crypto, and there's an intermediary. Now imagine that there's the beneficiary of this social impact interventions. There's the source of the capital, right? Who are the intermediaries? That NGO ecosystem, right? If they are now technology enabled, they're going to do an exponentially better job of connecting the two worlds. What that means is that you have a better sense of a data driven approach to quantify the challenge, you know, being able to pinpoint the location of the challenge. Here's the longitude, here's the latitude, and here's the number of people that will be impacted. And you're able to quantify every intervention to say, hey, what was the impact? Was it successful? And by the way, the beauty of this, of smart technology, is that you can apply an intervention, observe, report, improve, go back, and then continue. That's the magic. That's the magic.
Yes. That is amazing work, because it's important for people to be able to use data to continue to monitor their work. So now, just to be clear, I want to talk to the audience right now. These questions are coming from you all. It's coming from, M&E colleagues, in even different parts of the world that have gathered some of these questions. So please listen up. So we're going to keep on going. All right. So now, how can we use a monitoring information system platform to crowdsource outcomes? I think you already alluded to that in your previous answer. Crowdsource outcomes and impact from field implementers, project beneficiaries, or broad-based projects, which is, I believe, is one of the major challenges in this space today.
Yeah, no, so that's the beauty of mobile technologies, right? If you think about it, everybody has a mobile phone. Now, they may not have a smartphone, right? But even in FinTech, that's why you have USSD. USSD makes it such that you don't have a browser, you type a short code and then boom, you're done. So I think if you look at what is happening in terms of the penetration of mobile phones, right, and the connectivity, and in the most rural of the rural areas, it means that you now, for the first time, have connection to these beneficiaries. Now, the beauty of it is now you're now able to use technology and data to be able to, query, get data real time, online. And by the way, a lot of NGOs struggle with raising capital because they don't have the relationships. I think the old world is where it's all about the relationship and who know who. The future world is embracing data, being transparent about like your beneficiary, the projects, the project objectives, the outcomes, and being able to get feedback, a feedback loop, and continuous improvement, right? It's not, oh, okay, yeah, we just raised some money. We'll come back to you in 6 months with what we find. No, it's literally like every week I'm seeing what's happening. I'm seeing the hypothesis. I'm seeing a pilot, and then the scale up and the scale up and the scale up and the feedback loop. So my hypothesis is that a lot of funders and folks who want to drive intervention, if they connect with the types of NGOs and project implementers that are data-driven, technology-driven, real-time focused, that the ability to raise capital even without relationships and those types of things will be exponentially more. The ability to raise the right grants, attract the right money, and also be able to invest in that technology is gonna help. Now, what you have is a situation where some of the NGOs are not very sustainable because everything is manual. Everything is based on having hundreds and hundreds of people and a lot of paper and those types of things. It's not sustainable because next year you don't gain the efficiencies of last year with paper, but with technology, with data, with digital, you just kind of see that continuous improvement, and you're able to actually, I think, connect better with the types of outcomes that attracts, the NGOs that really, really care about, touching lives in the most remote areas.
Okay. Excuse me. Excuse me. So that is really something. So I want to just ask a follow-up question to that.
Sure.
So, do you think it would be beneficial for donors to invest in technology for their beneficiaries, for their grantees to actually use, so that they can get that feedback loop that you've been talking about for the first couple of minutes?
Yeah, no, that's a very good question. The question is who invests in the technology? Is it the donor? Is it the is it the implementers? Is it the NGOs? And I think it's a little bit of everyone. I think it's a situation where there needs to be some element of collaboration. There needs to be some element of building some shared resources, some technologies that could be reused. So some reusable components and technologies as well. Because I think it needs to be joint efforts by everybody. I think governments who are interested in attracting the right resources for their people should invest in some of those technologies. I think donors that really want to be able to make sure that things are data driven should invest in technology. I think project implementers, NGOs who are focused as well should do the same thing. And I think and the tech community, I think the tech community also has to kind of invent new tools and new technology for the market. So I think it's really the work of the ecosystem. The ecosystem has to work together, collaborate, and there's been some really, really good reference cases. I remember reading about the MIFOS initiative, which was funded originally by the Gates Foundation. And that was how the concept of microfinance banking was actually invented. That
I
there's this
see.
category of people that actually need banking, but then the main type of bank doesn't cater to them. And so I think it was Bangladesh that they piloted
Yeah.
this. Yeah, very successful. Now there's microfinance everywhere. And now there's actually some technologies. There's a technology called MyFos that was built, by the community based on that need. So I think we just need more of that. We need M&E tools. We need identification tools. When I think about the work we did with the Bank of Industry to do micro lending. And what Bank of Industry wanted to do was to say, hey, we want to do this intervention, but instead of giving money away, why don't we use this concept of productivity as aid, right? So instead of aid in terms of free money, why don't we like give people small loans so that you drive their productivity, they become self-sufficient? But how do we do everything in a digital approach? Everything digital, no manual process. How we ID the people, how we push the money to them, how they do their repayments, how we track how many people in a community, all of it was all digital. And it seemed
Wow.
impossible at the time, but today it's the largest program in Africa in terms of reaching the most number of people in the shortest amount of time.
Amazing. Amazing. So that is really something in terms of making sure that we're able to use M&E to continue to inform the work that we do in the sector, because yes, we do use tools in terms of evaluating more of yes and no questions, and some of that kind of
Sorry about that. We're having some network issues.
No problem.
And it was just right when we're transitioning to another question, so it was like, okay, but so let me just go into the next question. Again, thank you so much, Bunmi, for your patience. I appreciate it. So the next question is pretty much, how significant is data driven to development? You've already addressed that initially in the previous question. One of your subsidiaries, Garden Social Ventures, actually has launched a product, which is a data collection tool, which is called the trial feature. So is like, to what extent does that feature support evidence-based policy and decision making? Because obviously, like you said, data informs decisions. So in terms of, how does trial play a role in that process?
Yeah, no, thank you for that. Sorry about the little small break,
The glitch,
but
yeah.
it comes with the technology is not always perfect, but it's definitely much better than manual,
Yeah.
but you're absolutely right. Evidence-based, policy is embedded in this product called Trail. And Trail has been designed from the
Trail.
ground up, yes, to be,
Trail,
a
okay.
data-driven trail. Yeah, so leaving a trail, that's the basic idea. So it has been designed to be data-driven from day one, data 360 degrees from the source. All the way from the beneficiary to the implementer to the donor and everything in between. And the beauty of it is that when you capture data like that all the way through, then essentially you are able to trace, right, your outcome, your desired outcome, to the activities and what is the delta, right? And when you provide that information to the key stakeholders, whether that's donors, whether that's government, whether that is the community, what you find is that behavior changes. There's something incredible about data, right? Data changes behavior. A lot of times, how we operate, especially in Africa, is based on anecdotes and this person said this and feeling. But the moment you can move from that world to a world where it's all about what is the data telling us, then it is incredible what happens right from there. And so this evidence-based policy process begins with data capture, right? It begins with setting key objectives, right? Um, it begins with the theory of change that's driving that particular initiative. And then it is all about how do you create the right visibility to the key stakeholders. Sometimes it's the public, right? Sometimes it's government and a governor or or the presidency. Now, in a way, that data visibility is the answer to all things in our view, and that's exactly what Trail has been designed to accomplish.
Okay. Okay. That is really something, because it in terms of, it's the data that is needed. Um, so you just talked about governments in terms of how they're able to make decisions. So how might African governments better integrate smart technologies in policy making, service delivery, and sustainable development? So how do they integrate that in what they do, um, in terms
Yeah.
of helping society?
Absolutely. I think some of the work that I'm very, very proud of is the work that Budget is doing, in
Mm,
Nigeria. So you have
yes.
Budget, you have Tracker. And what did they do? It's very simple. They just said, hey, let's look at the Nigeria budget. Let's look at the
Mm-hmm.
budget of a state.
Mm-hmm.
And let's turn it into nice little infographics that the common man can understand, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so let's play this role between citizens and government so that they can speak the same language, because you'll find that sometimes that is a problem. So smart technology in this case is essentially infographics on top of the budget that nobody ever looks at, right?
Yeah.
Second example is Tracker. What does Tracker do? Tracker says, well, there's National Assembly and the Senate, and they've created all these projects in your community where there's budget allocation for it, and it's supposed to uplift the community, schools, hospitals, right? Vocational centers, and those types of things. Now, there is a disconnect. This disconnect is there's riots or there's unhappiness from the local citizens. On the other hand, the politician wants to show that I've done a lot of work. I went and advocated for you in Abuja. Here's how much we brought in last year, and so on and so forth. There's a disconnect. Now, let's take away whether it's corruption and those types of things, because you can address that. But that's not the foundation of everything. The foundation of everything is data. The foundation of everything is understanding and communication. So we're speaking the same language. Where there's now a deviation in the alignment, you can now say, okay, what's the cause of the deviation? So we plan to build 10 schools in these locations with a carrying capacity of 1 million people, or let's say 100,000 students. And we're spending 1 billion naira. That is the objective, right? Now, in terms of actual, now you should have the data. Where's the GIS technology that points at where it's supposed to be built? Where's the satellite technology that shows that there's something that is being built there? Where's the community tracking that shows pictures every step of the way? Because maybe the Senate did their work, but maybe the contractors were bad. So who is monitoring to say, instead everybody says nothing was done, or the money was stolen, or but we don't know, we don't have data. So we're very emotional about these things. So all we're saying is the beginning of change is smart technology. And when you do it, service delivery improves, policy making improves, sustainable development is achieved, and that is essentially what Dubai has done. The UAE is the perfect example. They have these things called the Happiness Center. In the Happiness Centers, that's where they listen to citizens, and they don't come and they'll tell me what's wrong with you. You have to capture it using data. If you come to the Happiness Center, if you don't come to the Happiness Center, you have a phone and you can send it in, and somebody is sitting down and looking and saying, here's what we set out to do. Here's what people are not happy about. Our mission is to make our people happy, and you're able to use data to be able to solve that. And I think the same thing is applicable with the NGO ecosystem. I really think data is the answer to all things, but maybe I'm biased, but I really think so.
People are saying that data is now the new oil.
Yeah,
it's really
absolutely.
something. So we've talked about government now in terms of what they can use data to do and what they can use technology to do. So we're just going to segue now into the development sector. So where do you see development partners leveraging technology in measuring the impact of their work?
Absolutely. No, I think there's so many different ways. I think number one is they can leverage technology as it relates to, identification, right? Okay. So identifying beneficiaries and targets and those types of things and locations. I think they can leverage technology as it relates to essentially visualizing their objectives and their theory of change, right? I think they can leverage technology even in terms of how do you pick the best, NGOs for a community, right? There's probably 50 of them, but you want to pick the best, right? So how do you pick the 20 and then based on data, what data is telling you, continue to, invest through the best 10 data automation? How do you even disburse the money and the grants in the most efficient way anywhere you are in the world? Technology, right? How do you track the results and the outcomes, beyond just the basic, okay, we went into this community, here are all the pictures, see all the pictures. The picture is not telling me anything. The picture is telling me what happened on one particular day, which could be very different the following day.
Exactly.
Right? So I think also the outcome of what happens, you can use technology to do. So it's incredible the ways you can apply technology. The limit, it's limitless. It is literally limitless.
Okay, so that's it's really something that you've talked about. You've talked about in terms of the development partners, in terms of them identifying nonprofits and making sure they find the best ones so that they can get the best outcomes for the work that the outcomes and the work that they are trying to do in certain regions. So I'm going to segue now into the nonprofits themselves. Okay, so the issue with local nonprofits, not just in Nigeria and in Africa, is institutional capacity. When I go and maybe a client hires me to go conduct an assessment of nonprofits around the country, I end up doing a brown bag session in terms of, no, this is how you do it. No, that is how you do it. So it's like, how does trial play a role with regards to collecting data to help them track the outcomes of the program that they are doing with what they have, so that it aids them to even get better?
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think this is where, you asked the question earlier that like who is supposed to adopt technology, and I said the whole value chain. And I think nonprofits in Africa especially, yes, you're using Excel today. Yes, you're taking pictures and you put it on Dropbox or Google Drive or something. But what is that next level, right? If you look at private sector has improved. If you look at government has improved. Why is the NGO sector not keeping pace? That is really what we're talking about. The community is needed, and Africa especially, more than ever. Government cannot solve all these problems, at all. So private sector cannot solve all these problems. So I think there's a role there to, for example, CRM systems, right? Proper CRM systems so that every contact is digitally stored and tracked properly. Every activity with that contact is stored. So that's basic. That's like, kind of like 101. As you talk about data capture systems on the field, survey systems, again, there's 1,000 survey tools out there, but there's some that are specifically geared towards nonprofits, right? And that's where a tool like Trail comes in, and there are others similar that are definitely geared toward how do you track your value chain? How do you track your activities? How do you report on the activities you're doing? Because the day a donor partner comes and says, hey, we want to see like they hire you and they say, go and check for all these nonprofits. If you go to 10 of them and one you go into, and every question that you ask, they're just pulling up a report right there. It's already right there. It's just already right there. Like, who are you going to pick? Very simple.
Yes.
Very simple.
That is really something that would even make them stand out from the rest. Things are not so analog driven, to be interesting when I go and I conduct an assessment and somebody just gives me a tablet and says, okay, where's your CAC registration? And says, okay, here it is.
Boom, and right there. Exactly.
It really be something. And this is even very key to even some of the top nonprofits even in the country. And I've been everywhere and I've seen some of the best and some of the ones that are just coming up. And it's like, if technology is used as an enabler in their work, it would really make a huge difference.
Absolutely.
So we're almost rounding up. So just a question. We're now getting curious. Like, okay, technology is going to help us. So how can organizations gain access to the Trail software, and how can they get started?
Yeah, no, sounds good. Obviously, there is a website. I think it's called www.mytrail.io. So you can go there anytime and sign up. We also have a team that you can contact. The contact information is also on the website. So you can jump on at any time and essentially, contact somebody on there, because I know sometimes technology can be scary. Sometimes you're just not sure, how you should do it, or where to start. But I think there's nothing to be scared of. There's somebody there that can, assist you and support you. I believe we should even have like a live chat on it. If we don't, I think it's coming soon. So my trail, mytrail.io, and log in, sign yourself up, or talk to somebody, and they'll be happy to kind of walk you through. Again, for me, it's a mission. For me, it's like, how do we transform Africa? If you look at our tagline, it's transforming Africa with technology, right? That impact is so important to us, and we believe that if we're able to apply technology in different ways, we're actually going to make Africa a better place. We're going to have more people who actually can, who their earning power actually, moves up. When their earning power goes up, they're able to buy more solutions and more technology. So for us, it's more of a mission, because you know how I started the conversation, moving back to Africa, realizing that 200 million is not really the market, the addressable market is very, very small. It's a few people in Lagos and Abuja and Port Harcourt. So the NGO sector is very important in being able to grow and move people up, so that there are more consumers that can then buy all these solutions and technologies and products, that we all have. So everything begins here. And that is really where my passion comes from, for the social sector and the development sector as really foundational to the transformation of Africa.
Okay. Thank you so much. That was extremely insightful, and just the fact that it's not just this is a passion of yours to make sure that technology, that you are able to really make sure that Africa catches up with the rest of the world when it comes to technology. And that is a huge call. So it looks like you're just going to keep working. You seem like someone that's never going to stop working, because that is a huge calling, because of the passion. Now, there's, like I said, a lot of my colleagues are having the challenge with data collection, in running projects is trying to harvest this information from rural communities, in terms of, because a lot of times, like especially some of these projects that they get, some of these huge activities from USAID, DFID, EU, and even other private foundations, like you mentioned, the Gates Foundation, Ford, and others. In terms of, a lot of their beneficiaries are in these rural communities. How, I know you talked about the microfinance bank, in terms of the inception of the microfinance bank in Bangladesh, and some of the work that was done by the Bank of Industry, that the work that you all were able to do with them. So, like, how can they address some of the challenges in these rural communities, in terms of, okay, let's say you have a monitoring and evaluation and a male director at an organization working on a $25 million project. How can we really, because most times we talk in these boardrooms and then we have these conversations and meetings, how are they able to harvest some of this data, not just from activities in the rural community? Because when you get into some of these activities, you have, people sign up, they come for events and everything. But in terms of the programs that they are running, how are they able to get in-time data from some of these beneficiaries to better inform their work? So it's not static, it's more of active data that they are collecting to, like you said earlier, to make that feedback loop, that they are able to make some of those decisions.
Yes, absolutely. I think there are three answers to that. First is obviously technology, right? Adopting the right technology and the right applications. Two is offline systems, leveraging offline systems. And then three is democratization and like agent-based approach. So those are the three solutions. So the first one is, you have to do enough work to search for the right technologies that support online, offline, like very modern systems to support you. So the right software, the right tool, the right technology. The second one is offline. So you have to realize that some of these locations, remote locations that are very, very rugged, they're not connected online real time. So you might need to take a device there that essentially does what they call store and forward securely. So you won't know you're there in some remote location, but you don't have network access. Some of this software will work 100% as if it's online, but you don't know that it's offline. And you just continue. And then the moment you now go to the main town, the main city, and it sees internet, it does all the synchronization and everything in a very intelligent way. It's something minute, but it's a difference maker in how technology should be architected, in Africa. And that's what I call that store forward and offline technologies that you need. And then the third one is you also have situations where in big cities, you may be able to tell everybody, hey, go online, use this short code, answer this survey, blah, blah, blah. But then, you find that, in this day and age, you can actually crowdsource that. Okay. You can literally create an agent network of data collectors, people you don't know, that are actually helping you collect the data. Who is the person who is closest to your beneficiary or the location you're interested in, that you can democratize the gathering of the data, and you pay them as they get the data for you. So that's also a new area that the right technology can help you execute on. I think if you adopt those three things, totally doable. And we've seen it before, we've done it before, and I've seen a lot of success come out of that.
Okay, that is amazing, because that is some of the issues, that the major issues in terms of the sector, in terms of that constant feedback loop, so that like a donor in the US or in Australia can see on-time data in terms of where the money is going, and they can actually consistently learn lessons from some of the outcomes. So I think I have a few comments and questions from the audience. So let me just, I have from Oludare Olorunfemi. He says, data is the new oil. However, organizations should collect, process, and share personal data in the manner that respects the rights of the data owner, considering the risk of processing may pose. Yeah, that's another big issue. I think that's another hot topic that has been going on with data, and it getting into the wrong hands and different things like that.
And you have policies these days like NDPR, GDPR, that creates the right guideline for how data should be used. So it's just enforcing that and making sure that anybody that's developing technology is following those guidelines.
Okay. So thank you so much, Bunmi. This was, I am just speechless. This was an awesome interview in terms of really understanding how technology and data can add value in the development sector. Of course, you talked about the corporate, government, and in terms of, and some of the work that you have been able to do over the years in terms of adding value with regards to technology in Nigeria and Africa. Bunmi Akinyemiju, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time. And we will definitely be in touch in the nearby future. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Thank you so much. Take care.
Right.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Okay, so we have gotten the interview with Bunmi Akinyemiju. I am very excited about this interview. If you have any further questions, please put in the comment section in terms of in relating to this topic with regards to the development sector and how data is being used, and how technology adds value. So we have just finished an interview with Mr. Bunmi Akinyemiju. And I look forward to having another Dev Sector series with you all on next week with our next speaker. Take care and have a lovely day. Bye-bye.